I want to explore something with you, a question that I feel sits at the very heart of our human confusion and sorrow. Is it possible, truly possible, to completely empty the mind of this thing we call me? I don't just mean the superficial me, the one that has a name and a job and a collection of opinions, which is the me at the conscious level. I am asking about the entire structure, the deep, unconscious roots of this me that grip the very foundation of our being, the hidden storehouse of our fears, our racial memories, our deepest anxieties and appetites. We seem to believe that this me, this meanness, is the absolute price we must pay for being human, for being alive. We think that to live, to be good, or to find truth, we must improve this me, educate it, refine it, or perhaps even sacrifice it for a higher me. But I am asking if we must instead, to truly live, pay the price of ridding ourselves of this me entirely. So the immediate practical question arises, doesn't it? If we are to end this me, is there a process? Is there a system, a guaranteed method, a step-by-step guide that I can follow to achieve this emptying? This is what we all want, what we all search for. We look to the guru, the priest, the psychologist, the self-help industry, and we ask for the how. Give me the technique, we say, the 7 steps, the mantra, the daily practice, and I will do it. And my answer, which I must ask you to consider with great seriousness, is that there is no process, there is no method, there is no system. This is a staggering thing to realize because it invalidates the entire structure of our spiritual and psychological search. Every religion, every meditative school, the entire evolutionary system of becoming better or more enlightened, all of it is based on process. It is all based on time. I am this now, we say, but through practice, through time, I will become that. If you see, as I see, that it cannot possibly be a process because process means time, it means gradualness, it means the me is projecting its own continuation into the future under the guise of its own dissolution, then we are faced with an entirely different problem. If it is not a matter of time, it must be done instantly. The monster, this me, must be seen and ended in one stroke, not dismembered piece by piece over a lifetime, because the one doing the dismembering is the monster. This is what we must be absolutely clear about. The instant you say, I must destroy the me, I must end my ego, I have to ask you, who is this I that is doing the destroying? Is it not still the me, perhaps a more subtle, more clever, more spiritual fragment of the me that has taken charge? When I make an effort, when I exert my will to throw out the content of my mind, the me remains. The me has simply become the operator, the censor, the one in control. The me is the will, and the me is the effort. This is the ultimate psychological trap. We think we can use one part of the mind to cleanse another, but it is all the same territory. It is not an act or an activity of the mind that will bring about this freedom. It is not an activity of the will, which is just desire in a different costume. It is not an activity of the feelings, which are so often reactions of the me. and it is certainly not an activity of the body. We are so wrapped up in this world with doing, with having, with acting, with achieving, that we don't seem to understand reflectively or profoundly what takes place before we act. We don't see the root of the action, which is the me. We must reflect backwards, deeply. We must see that there is a seeing that exists before we become aware of seeing. Just as there is a state of loving before the mind steps in and says, I am now loving. And just as there is a state of being before the mind becomes aware of, I am being. But this is where the difficulty lies, because the me is so pervasive. It exists at the conscious level where I'm thinking and talking to you, but it also exists in the deeper levels, the so-called unconscious. Can the conscious mind, which is itself part of the me, examine the unconscious me and expose it? Or is it that the entire content of consciousness is the me? I am not just talking about the me that I can analyze and look at, that objective self that I compare with others, the one that gets violent or greedy. I am including everything in this me. I include the self, the ego, the whole conceptual ideation I have about who I am. I include the search for the higher self, the lower self, the Atman or the soul. All of this my history, my ambitions, my fears, my virtues, my desire for God, my desire for enlightenment, all of it is the content of my consciousness. And this entire content, this whole bundle of memories and ideas, that is the me, this me, this entire content of my consciousness is therefore the very source of division in my life and in the world. Because as long as that content remains, there must be separation. It is the me as my nation, my religion, my desire for security, my accumulation of pleasure, my particular sexual identity, my ambition to be something that fundamentally separates me from you. This me is a history, a bundle of memories and prejudices, and it looks at you through that screen of memory, so I never actually see you. I see the label I have put on you. This creates the perpetual conflict between us and them, between mine and yours, between what I call good and what I call bad, and the whole terrible, painful division of human existence takes place as a result. Now, if we see this as an absolute fact, we are saying that the emptying of that content is not a process of time. It cannot be, because any process implies the me is continuing through time, modifying itself, but never ending. And if it is not a process, it is also not subject to methodology. This is the great stumbling block for the mind, isn't it? The moment we are faced with this, the mind, which is a machine of how to, immediately asks, then what is one to do? Please, let's look at this together. Let's take a little time over this, because it is the most important question. Almost every single tradition, every teacher, every guide to a better life has told us the same thing. You must practice, you must strive, you must make a tremendous heroic effort. You must live with discipline. You must control your thoughts. You must suppress your base desires. I'm very familiar with all of that, and I'm sure you are too. It is the air we breathe culturally. We are told to fight our demons, to conquer our fear, to master ourselves. And I must tell you, after looking at this for a very, very long time, that entire approach is completely finished. It has not been helpful. It has not, in thousands of years, brought peace to mankind because it is a trap. It is the me trying to overcome the me, which only strengthens the me through conflict. So, if all of that is out, all effort, all discipline, all suppression, all striving, then how is this content to be emptied in one stroke, as it were? The mind immediately leaps to a form of action, doesn't it? If I cannot conquer it, I must reject it. But the content cannot be emptied by a negative action, by a simple repudiation of the content. I cannot just say, I am no longer greedy, or I am not an American, or I reject my anger. That is a blind alley we must not approach. Why? Because that is just a pretense. By denying it, by pushing it away, you are merely putting it under the carpet. You are locking it in the basement. It is still there, festering, gaining strength in the dark, and it will express itself in some other, more perverted, more subtle way. This is why one has to be tremendously honest in this inquiry. We must be so clear, so incorruptible with ourselves. Otherwise, we just play tricks. We deceive ourselves into thinking we are making progress, that we are becoming more spiritual, when all we have done is invent a new, more respectable image of me. I see clearly, and I wonder if you see it with me, not as a theory, not as a dialectical argument, but as a direct perception that the me is the mischief in the world. The me is the sorrow. You see a selfish human being, whether it is a politician clinging to power, a guru building an empire, or just ourselves in our daily lives, fighting for our little position, protecting our little reputation. You see that human being, and you see how destructive they are, how much conflict they create. This me is the root of all violence. So, if we see that the question becomes incredibly urgent, can this content be emptied so that the mind is truly fresh, silent, and therefore capable of real perception? I suspect the content cannot be emptied by an act of will, as I cannot will myself to stop thinking. But perhaps the content can be seen for what it is. Perhaps its utter inadequacy, its total inappropriateness in the face of the immensity of life can be seen, and that very perception is the key. Perhaps it is in the very energetic, uncompromising act of simply seeing the me for what it is that its hold is broken. I must insist, however, that this is not a new methodology. I'm not devising a new system because I don't believe in methods at all, for I see them as mechanical, destructive things that dull the mind. The moment you ask how to empty the mind, you are already creating a method, a process, which implies a me who is going to practice this method over time to get a result. We are back in the same trap. So, let's be very clear. We said that as long as there is division in the mind, there must be conflict, which is an observable fact in our lives and in the world. We also said this division exists because of the me, which is the total content of my consciousness, my bundle of memories and prejudices. Therefore, the emptying of that content brings about unity, an undivided state. I see this not as a logical conclusion, not as a concept, but as an absolute fact. Just as I see that fire burns, I see the political, religious, and social division in the world, the grotesque cruelty of it, and I say how absurd, how utterly insane this is. It is the perception of this fact, the full, total, undiluted seeing of the absurdity and cruelty of the me, that is the act of emptying. The perception of the inappropriateness of the content of consciousness, the seeing of the profound truthlessness of the me, is in itself the discovery of a different state of being. But this leads us to the real crux of the problem, doesn't it? I cannot perceive truth if there is division, and division is the me. But what is this me? It is a collection of images. I cannot perceive, I cannot see anything truly if that perception is through an image. And the mind, my mind and your mind, is utterly bedeviled with images. It is a machine for creating and storing images. I have an image of you, and you have an image of me. This is the great tragedy of our relationships. My image of you is built through our past contact, through memory. It is built from the pleasure you gave me, the insult you threw at me, the opinion someone else shared about you. It is a composite of memories, which is knowledge, and this image is what I have a relationship with. I am not in relationship with you as a living, moving, unpredictable being. I am in relationship with my past, which I project onto you. This is why we are all so terribly lonely. We live with our spouses, our children, our friends, but we are living with the images we have built of them over 20 years, and they are living with their images of us. We are ghosts interacting, shadows in a prison of our own making, and we never ever meet. Think about it. In our modern world, this culture of the follower and the influencer on social media, it is the perfect, horrifying expression of this. I create an image of myself, a curated, polished, perfected me, and I project it into the world. You then follow that image. You build your own secondary image of my image. We are communicating, liking, and commenting, but we are two images, two conceptual structures passing in the digital night. We are terrified to be seen as we are, empty, uncertain, afraid. So we cling to the image of me as successful, me as happy, me as knowledgeable. This image, this memory, this me, this is the content of consciousness. The brain cells themselves are the residue of memory, the very physiological structure of image formation. Now, we must be careful here. Memory, which is knowledge, is absolutely necessary to function in the world. I need memory to speak English, to drive my car home, to build a house, to perform surgery, or to use a computer. This is the world of fact, of technical, functional knowledge. But this same faculty, the faculty of thought and memory, has no place whatsoever in the world of human relationship. The moment I use knowledge, which is the image, in my relationship with you, I have destroyed the relationship, because relationship is a living thing. It is now, and the image is always the past. This, then, is the core of it. We are always avoiding the present by escaping into the past, which is the me. And I know what you are thinking, because it is the cry of every human being who has glimpsed this. How do I see? I understand what you're saying about memory and images, but I know, you see, how is it that you saw? And please, You ask, don't just tell me what you eliminated in order to see. Don't tell me what is not the way. Take me by the hand and show me how to see. This is the real question, the only question that matters. And the answer, I must tell you, is devastating in its simplicity. I will tell you how I saw. You simply see. I know this sounds like a dismissal. Well, you simply see. How does that help? But it is not. If we are to be true teachers and learners together, we must deal with this how, and I will show you. I think it is, in fact, an extraordinarily simple, though perhaps arduous, thing to explore. I will show you then how one simply sees. First, one has to see what the world is, to actually look at what is around you, not what you think is around you. You must see the world as it is. This means you cannot interpret it in your own terminology through your categories according to your particular temperament or your deep set prejudices. Can you look at the world, this world of violence, brutality, beauty, and immense sorrow, and not take sides? Can you see it without the immediate filter of your conditioning, which says, this is right, this is wrong, I am for this, I am against that? This is the very first step. We are so accustomed to seeing the world through the lens of our concepts. We see a headline, a political event, or a person on the street, and we have already categorized them, judged them, and filed them away based on our pre-existing memory. We don't see the world as it is easing, as a living, moving, complex reality. We see the dead concepts we have projected onto it. Let us take something very simple. Can you look at a tree without the image of the tree? Can you look at it without the botanical knowledge, without the name oak or pine, without the word tree itself, which is a collection of all your memories of trees? Can you just look? This is not some mystical exercise. It is the act of seeing directly, without the screen of thought. And once you have discovered that simple experience of seeing the tree or a flower or the face of another without thinking treeness or flowerness, without the prior conditioning, then you must take the next step, which is to turn that same quality of perception inward. You must see yourself as you are. This is the beginning and end of self-knowing. There must be an observation of myself, this me, as I actually am, without the immediate reaction of saying how terrible this is, or how beautiful that is, or how sentimental I am being. I must be aware, simply aware, of the entire movement of myself, both the conscious and the unconscious. I begin with the tree, and I must also see myself in the same way. I must watch the hypocrisy as it arises. I must watch the subtle tricks my mind plays to protect itself, the desire to be praised, the flash of envy, the deep ache of loneliness. I must watch the whole of that. This is watchfulness, an awareness without any choice, without any direction, without any motive to change what is seen. You just watch. You know yourself all the time, from moment to moment. But I must be careful with my words because we are so trained to be analytical, aren't we? The moment I say watch, you may think I mean analyze. But analysis is the very trap we are trying to avoid. So I have to pursue that. Why am I analytical? I must watch that tendency itself. I must see the utter futility of it. Analysis takes time, and you can never really analyze the me because the analyzer is the me in disguise. You can spend 50 years in analysis by a professional or by yourself, and you will just become more clever at dissecting fragments. So you must see the absurdity of it, the danger of it. When you see that, what are you doing? You are seeing things as they are, actually, what is taking place. The word watching, however, still has a connotation, doesn't it? It implies observation, and observation implies putting something out there to look at under a microscope, as a scientist would do. This creates a division, the observer and the observed, which is the me splitting itself in two. This is precisely what we don't want. So perhaps a better word, the only word, is to be choicelessly aware. This we must do. We must be choicelessly aware of this dualistic, analytical, conceptual way we are living. Be aware of it. Don't correct it. Don't say, this is right or this is wrong. Just be aware. And you will find that we are aware in this way, with this total burning intensity, when there is a real immediate crisis. But what does this mean? Choicelessly aware. Why choiceless? Because choice at the psychological level implies duality and conflict. Of course, at the functional level, choice must exist. I choose that carpet because it is a better color than the other carpet. That is simple. But when I am aware of myself, choice implies a highly developed consciousness of limitation. Choice implies effort. I must choose to be good. Choice implies conformity. I choose this belief system, which means I am conforming to a pattern. I am imitating. An imitation means more conflict, trying to live up to something, some image. So we must understand the full significance of psychological choice. We think choice is freedom. We celebrate our freedom of choice as the highest good. But in this realm, it is the very antithesis of freedom. It is the me asserting its preferences, its conditioning, its fears. Is there choice in love? If I say, I choose to love you, is that love? Or is love a state of being in which choice does not exist at all? Choice is a process of the intellect, of thought, of memory. So, to be aware, what does that mean? It means to be aware of the things about you outwardly, the trees, the colors, the sounds, and also to be aware inwardly of what is happening, your motives, your anxieties, your thoughts, again, choicelessly. To watch, to look, to listen, so that you are watching without any movement of thought. Thought is the image. Thought is the word. Thought is the past. Can you watch? Can you be aware without thought coming in and pushing you in any direction? Just to be aware. This is not an act of the mind or of feeling, it's an act of existence. It is a precognitive awareness of presence, and it makes choice unnecessary. From that state of choiceless awareness, there is an awareness of the me. You see how hypocritical it is. You see the whole movement of the me and the you, the division. And in that pure seeing, that total attention, the me begins to dissolve. That quality of mind is free from the me. And therefore, in that freedom, there is no separation. I don't go around saying we are one, which is just another concept, another idea. Rather, we discover unity as a living, actual thing which can only flower when there is this sense of total, choiceless attention. If this reflection resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the nature of our minds.